Happy New Year, everyone. This is Amanda Werner, the host of the Empower Students Now podcast. And today I would like to tell you something that I've known for a while now, a few years, and I just have had a really hard time going public about it because I really care about privacy and my family's privacy. And it's been hard sharing things publicly, especially when it comes to my own neurodivergent brain. And I've probably recorded this episode in my head hundreds of times in the last few years, and am only just now gaining the courage to really come out of the closet, I guess, about my autism. And my friend Jessica Martin, the whimsical teacher on Instagram, we have a podcast together. Maybe you know about it. It's called Two Wacky Teacherpreneurs Tell All. And she really helped me and encouraged me to share my story on our podcast and just tell everyone. Because I think that the more autistic people that are talking about being autistic, the more we can change the story and reveal the truth of our experience, each of our individual experiences, though some parts of it may be similar. Every autistic person is unique and different and an individual. And just changing the story, turning it around and allowing us to tell it, I think is really important, rather than relying on inaccurate information that's been perpetuated throughout history. And I want to tell you about an important book that goes in depth about the history of autism, and it's called Neurotribes by Steve Silberman. But this isn't the only book that I recommend. I also was very much changed and informed by learning about Dr. Devon Price's experience in a book called Unmasking Autism. And then later learned even more about this important subject and topic for all teachers to be aware of, and students and parents. And this book is called Girls and Women on the Autism Spectrum by Dr. Sarah Hendricks. And these three books have really, really impacted me. And if you're interested in the topic, I highly recommend that you read them. But if you don't, or you don't have time, I will definitely be talking about these books and more this year in 2026. So the episode that you're about to hear that was originally published on our Wacky Teacherpreneur podcast is a conversation between Jess and I, and just my announcement about being autistic and how my journey and discovery. I'm recording this audio right now, January 3rd, and it's the day the episode is going to come out. So if you're listening to it, I just recorded this, and actually I do this a lot. So because I procrastinate, I put this off, and I've disappeared a lot throughout the years on this podcast too, without any sort of warning. And now you know why. Burnout is real, and I've come and gone many times throughout the years. This podcast started in 2018, and it's changed a lot. It's changed titles. I've rebranded it. It's evolved, and it's going to continue to evolve and change because the world's changing and I'm changing, and I'm getting older and hopefully wiser and definitely braver because of all the amazing autistic people that have spoken out and up about their autistic experiences. I really do credit so many of the autistic people talking and speaking about their experiences today. And I'll be talking about all of those people that I admire and look up to in upcoming episodes as well. I'm so relieved to be talking about this finally. And I'm so happy that you're here listening alongside this with me on this journey. And so let's go ahead and listen into this conversation with my very close, longtime friend, Jessica Martin, and myself. Welcome to the Empower Students Now podcast, a podcast about equity, neurodiversity, mindfulness, and student engagement. There's a lot that needs to change in our education system. The good news is teachers have the power to make these changes now. Press record. Well, no, let me start it, okay? Right now, I probably look calm and normal, and I don't, inside, my heart is pounding, I'm shaking, I feel out of breath a bit. Yeah, I'm very nervous. I feel like crying a bit. I don't know, like we're pulling off a Band-Aid right now. And go ahead, Jess, say it.
Amanda is autistic. She got the formal diagnosis this, gosh, has it already been a week or so? Like a week or two ago?
Look at me shaking.
Amanda's shaking right now. But I mean, we've kind of thought Amanda was autistic for a long time. Like there was a lot of symptoms and I don't know how to describe it, like characteristics, things that she related to as she started studying and learning more about neurodivergence and autism. And yeah, she went and got herself professionally diagnosed, and the diagnosis was very, 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 very strong that Amanda does have autism, and she is autistic. And I was just wondering, how are you holding up from this life-changing prognosis?
That's like asking me how I am, which I hate that question. When someone says, "How are you?" And this is small talk, right? Like I can't do small talk. Because there's so much to say. I feel overwhelmed by that question.
What would be like, okay, so pretend I'm just a teacher entrepreneur that I just met you. Like, what would be 3 things you'd want me to know now about you as you are an autistic entrepreneur? Like 3 things to understand about you and your journey.
Well, the first thing I would say is I am just one person. I am very unique. I have a personality. I have a culture. I have a family that's impacted who I am. I have ingrained conditioning from being a woman in this world. I'm only one person. And I also have ADHD. So that changes things too. And yeah, so that's the first thing. Like, I am unique. I am not, I think that one of the there's so many misunderstandings about autism. I just think people have a very simplified idea of what it is. And a lot of people have very little awareness of the varied ways that it can manifest itself in unique people, and the very layered other, like, comorbidities is what they're called, like other diagnoses that are on top of it that sort of change. So there's this term called ADHD, which is someone with autism and ADHD, which I think about 40% of people who have ADHD also have autism. I don't know. I just have a lot of knowledge about this. I've been studying it for like, I don't know, 5 years now, since my kid was diagnosed with autism in 2021. So it's been like, yeah. But I knew they were autistic before that. And so, and I knew I was too, before being formally diagnosed, but self-diagnosis is so stigmatized as well, by doctors and things, and people talk a lot of crap about that. So I don't know. What did I just, I didn't say three things. I just said, how many things did I just say? Um,
Well, if you want to just tell us that one thing, because I have a burning question hearing you talk. So what I was thinking about for teacher entrepreneurs is like, I think more and more people are getting diagnosed as autistic, and I've just noticed it personally in my teaching career. And as a kid who grew up in public schools, right? I just noticed that more and more women, more and more people are being diagnosed with autism. So, what do you think an entrepreneur could do, whether they have autism or not? What could they do? Like, how would you create products keeping in mind like all the different types of people in the world? Or like, do you think like looking back now, like are there certain lessons or things that you think like you really like just as you as a unique human? Like, what are some things that like what could people do to appeal to autistic students?
hmm. Um, that's a really good question. And again, it's so loaded and overwhelming. There's so many things you can do, but the first thing that came to mind, which you're probably going to laugh, is AI. Um, I actually, there's so many, I've been using Claude, which is, I guess, they're trying to be more ethical, I guess, in like their privacy, of what people are saying and things in Claude. But I've been playing around with Claude to differentiate my lessons for neurodivergent kids. Um, and it's really, it has some really great ideas. I could read you some of the things that Claude has come up with. Um, I am writing new curriculum right now, about AI, and how to help kids and parents and teachers transition during this time of change and AI just sort of taking over everything. And uh, I really, I'm going to Claude right now actually so Claude, I had it write a lesson, and then I said, okay, can you help me differentiate this lesson for students who have autism or ADHD or dyslexia? And Claude went even further and differentiated for kids with dyslexia, kids with anxiety, kids with dysgraphia, which is writing, like, and that's also often a comorbid sort of like trait. I hate that word comorbid, but another, autistic people can have dysgraphia. They can also have dyslexia. They can have a lot of anxiety, depression, things like that. I mean, they struggle with all of these depending on, who it is. But yeah, so let me just read you some of the things that uh that Claude came up with for differentiation. It's pretty awesome. And so like every lesson that you write, you could, you know, ask AI for help in, well, how could this lesson be improved for kids who are neurodivergent? I don't know. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's amazing. I wasn't even expecting you to come up with an answer quite like that, right? Like that kind of blows my mind a little bit. And I know you've told me about Claude before, but I mean, like, what a great idea for teacher entrepreneurs listening to go to something like Claude and input a lesson that you've written and just ask how you could make it better for people with neurodivergence, right? Like, and like you said, it went even further than you would even go. So I think that's a really cool way to use this technology right now. Like that's that's kind of very interesting. Like I'm definitely intrigued.
Yeah. So here, let me just read you a little bit of what Claude came up with. One thing that teachers really need to remember. Oh, and ELL. It came up with ELL, strategies for ELL too, which is English language learners. But okay, so strategies for students with autism spectrum. I don't like the word disorder. Okay, so it said possible challenges, social communication, obviously, abstract thinking, sensory sensitivities, and preference for routine. And some of the things that it said you could do is respect sensory needs, have quiet spaces that these kids can retreat to, have alternative seating, allow alternative communication. So like, speech to text, or like, especially if a kid has dysgraphia, or, if you're having kids give presentations, allow the student to like pre-record the presentation or do the presentation in front of just a smaller group or just in front of the teacher, or excuse the presentation if the student has a lot of anxiety. Like, imagine being someone who is has a lot of social struggles to have to stand up in front of a whole class and give a presentation. Like, why is that an expectation? And I think that's the biggest thing, is you really have to shift your expectations of kids that are neurodivergent. And I mean, teachers have so much on their plates already, and so to use AI to kind of learn more, it's very efficient. It's like a quick way to learn about things, I think. um
Yeah, and wouldn't it be great if all TPT sellers had like a little, like some sort of blurb in their product, like, hey, here's just some quick ideas for how to differentiate this for different types of people, right? Because I was just thinking about a strategy that my district sort of forces us to use. They tell us like almost every lesson has to have turn and talk. And then I have been thinking about, I have a lot of classes during the week where I have autistic students that are kind of they're integrated with a gen ed classroom, but they usually just have their own classroom with their own teacher, and then we pull them into gen ed, right? So they're around all these noisy kids, and it's really overwhelming. And sometimes I'm like, I got to go with my lesson plan, right? So I'm like, turn and talk, and then I see all of them are just like this. They're like not talking to anyone. And then I think about like the principal comes in and they're writing notes. Like, I notice not everybody's turning and talking. And so it's just like, I don't know. It is a different way of thinking. Like, I not, while you were talking, I was just like, gosh, maybe, I do have this big barrel of like puppets and stuffed animals. I wonder if I could say, like, turn and talk if you're comfortable, or, grab a plushie to talk to in your mind, right? Because like, just because they're not verbally communicating with someone doesn't mean that there isn't some sort of information processing going on, right? And so as you were talking, I was thinking of my own lessons, like, oh, what if I tried this? And I mean, how handy would that be for teachers to buy a teachers pay teachers lesson and then just see that some ideas like that would instantly help people in their rooms, right?
Yeah, well, and I think you're bringing up a really important point too, that principals expect everyone to be participating, and I think principals, vice principals, like all the school staff, they really need to shift their understanding of a classroom. And our public system is all about compliance. And, if there are students that aren't complying or aren't participating, that it's somehow like someone's fault. And and I love that idea of having like them turn and talk to like a stuffed animal, or even just show me your thinking, by putting your fingers on your, temples. And I did want to bring up, like, I think this is important too, that there are so many, I know that there's this whole idea that there's this phenomenon of overdiagnosis. Like you said, so many people are being diagnosed with autism. I don't know if that's necessarily, well, I do think there's a phenomenon of overdiagnosis of ADHD, especially in kids, right? these days. But there's also an underdiagnosis. So like they're happening at the same time. And so there's a lot of kids in classrooms that are autistic and it's called high masking, where they seem normal. Like I think a lot of people listening are probably going to be quite shocked to hear because I seem so normal, right? Like I seem so normal. And that's why we have these pictures of two of us, right? That everyone masks, even normal, like typical people, everyone, we have social norms, right? That we have to conform to. Like, for example, friends, especially girls, women, they hug a lot. Um, and I don't like hugging, but I've never said that to people. Like I've not, and I also am very uncomfortable dancing. Like there's just I think too much about it. Like where do I put my hand? And is this weird? And like, did I pull too hard? Did I push away? Like, how long should this last? I think that's part of, being autistic is like uh just awkward, being feeling really awkward. But like especially girls and women, we mask a lot more, I think, than like boys or men with autism. Or there's like this female phenotype, is what I've learned. There's more knowledge about this now. And men can have the female phenotype too. So it's not like it's just in women. So like there could be autistic men that their autism manifests in more of a female way. So they might be a lot more interested and motivated to have friends and to socialize and to mask more to fit in. And so basically, the point I'm trying to make is that there's a lot of kids in classrooms that are autistic and they have no idea, and neither do their parents. They might maybe the kids these days have some, they're like way more aware, I think, about neurodivergence, and they might have some sort of ideas and they might even self-diagnose and things. I've been a teacher for 16 years and just, I think it was like last year, I had a female student tell me they were autistic and diagnosed autistic. And that was the first time in my career as a teacher that I've ever had a student tell me that. Um, and even males, like I've never had a male come up to me and say that, ever. I mean, I've had diagnosed male students in my classroom. And this is another thing about autism. You can monologue, you can talk on and on and on. I have no idea how long I've been talking and where I'm going with this, but do you have anything to
Well,
say, Jess?
I think this was a really good first episode to just introduce people to this and let them know that this is going on in your life because I mean this is two wacky teacherpreneurs and you are half of the two wacky.
Well, I know, and I want to talk about you in the next episode and like maybe how this has impacted you because I think with telling friends and like family about this diagnosis, I feel it's I think that it's sort of like a brain explosion moment. But most of the people I've told are like, oh, that makes sense. They've been, but the people I've told are people that I've been talking to about it a lot already, and they already have some background and knowledge about it. But sometimes I wonder, like, if they might consider, like, if someone so seemingly normal has autism, that they might start to think, like, wait a minute, if Amanda has it, then like, and I'm weirder than Amanda. Not, I mean, and I think weird is good, right? Like, do I have it too? I don't know. Like, I'm wondering if we've talked about this a little bit, but
We have. Are we good on this episode?
no, I want you to tell me, or maybe we can do that on the next one.
Yeah, I mean, like I think I told you this is that you were concerned that maybe like I would think that I had it too. And I said, well, one, I was just happy for you to get, a diagnosis and get all this paperwork and all this information. But I also feel, and I know there's other people in your life that feel this way, that like I am kind of old at this point. Like I'm kind of like, if I have it, like how would knowing benefit me in the future when I'm like almost 45 years old? I mean, I'm almost halfway done here. And I just feel like, so, I mean, it didn't really make me feel, but I did tell you, like, truthfully and honestly, when you said that, one thing I was kind of thinking selfishly, I was like, oh, well, of course, because a lot of autistic people are attracted to me. Because throughout my life, even in school, there are autistic kids, and some of them aren't even diagnosed, but I know instantly. And I do have kind of an awareness about it because I used to work in group homes with autistic adults. And
Yeah.
so I guess I learned a lot of like, I learned a lot of characteristics, personality traits, things I see people doing, right? So I've noticed, and maybe I'm just super hypersensitive and aware since working in the group homes of autistic people because those were my clients. Those were people I was getting paid to support them. And I had to go to conferences and I had to take classes and lessons and learn, how do I support these people? And and now in school, it's kind of the same thing, but I do notice like, coworkers and adults in my life and kids. I have noticed a lot of autistic people drawn to me. And maybe, I don't know, is it like magnets? Where autism finds autism? Or is it just like I'm a safe, warm place for people to confide in or talk to, or they feel like maybe I do know a little bit more about it, so like I'm not going to judge them. I don't know. These are all kind of selfish thoughts on my behalf.
I don't think they're selfish. I don't see how they're selfish at
Well, it's kind
all.
of about me, right? Like, oh, of course, like these people are drawn to me. That's how it feels a little selfish, right? But
Well,
anyway,
but there is research that shows, and maybe I can link it in the show notes, that the first thing you said about magnets, autistic people are attracted to autistic people. There's actually research that shows that like,
oh, really?
yeah, there's like a autistic radar. Where are the other autistic people? Like the other people that and there's research also that there's different types of autism. And I think we see that like when you were working with people in adult homes, they were at that they couldn't live independently, right? And they needed a lot of support. Whereas I'm like, like you said, I'm 43. I have success. I've had a career. I'm a mom. I'm still married. Like I'm, financially secure. Like, and you asked like how would this benefit me if I got a diagnosis? Maybe we could talk about that in the next episode too.
Yeah, we can bring it up again.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay.
But I
Are we
think
good?
just this announcement and
Yeah,
sharing a
this
little
was a big
about
one.
it.
I don't think we should go too deep the first episode because maybe some people listening have a lot to think about.
I think they do. And maybe they have questions. And feel free to ask all your questions. I'm not nervous anymore. I feel a lot more calm
That's
talking
great.
about this openly. It feels really good. So
That's
thank
good.
you for the push to pull the band-aid off. Namaste.
Namaste.